Sup, dog?
Sup, little honk shoe? How you doing?
Little honk shoe, dude. Yeah, that's me.
Yep.
Just getting my snore on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like if the Dark Lord of Mordor was sleepy, dog. Call me Snoron. What's up?
Not much. Just watched an insanely long movie.
Yeah.
And and here today to talk about it. Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
That's true.
Not my favorite Charlton Heston movie from the 60s. I prefer Planet of the Apes, I will say.
Okay. Well, don't give too much away.
Yeah.
Because there's no way they'll guess what movie we're talking about.
Yeah.
Before we do, I want you to watch this video.
Oh, all right.
Okay, everybody, now you see what this is? This is a bottle of cinnamon. Cinnamon is some sort of powder that you put into cakes and it makes them taste nice, that's fine. This is a tablespoonful of cinnamon. Now, somebody's tried to tell me that putting a full spoonful, and this is not a full spoonful, it's a tablespoonful of cinnamon in your mouth once is impossible. And I've seen all these younger people than me who shoving this stuff in their mouth and then they're all over the place because they can't take it. Well, believe me, I've faced worse than tablespoonfuls of cinnamon during my life. People have thrown things at me all my life, and all my life I've then putted them away or taken the challenge. I'm going to take the challenge now. This is one of the fullest tablespoonfuls of cinnamon I've seen in the various challenges I've seen recorded. Mine's going to be the best of all, and I bet you I won't even balk, okay? I won't even balk because I've been trained to take pain, okay? I've taken pain all my life. Here we go. I'm told there should be an explosive reaction that won't be from me. I'm going to count you down. 3, 2, 1.
Hell yeah, dude. We should do that on air. We should do the cinnamon challenge. Are you in?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it right now.
All right, we'll plan it for next time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use up all the cinnamon in the cupboard. You never know when you might want to bake a little cheeky snickerdoodle.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, hi. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Yep, welcome to Left Unread.
Yep. My name is Cam, joined as always by my faithful co-host.
Yep, Evan, yes.
Evan, yep. Who's looking like he's looking like, you know who you look like right now?
Who?
You look like King Sancho from this movie.
Yeah,
with your hair and your beard and everything.
I know. Dude, my hair is going like just straight afro mode
You're
right
getting
now.
that fucking, the Evan curl is coming back.
Oh, dude, it's so humid that like I get out of the shower and I try to like comb my hair down and it's just like poof, just poofs right out immediately. It's like,
it grows
no
fast.
stopping it. Yeah, I know. I was bald 3 months ago.
You were bald not long ago, and you've got like a little mop going on.
Yep.
So what's up, guys? Welcome. Mm-hmm. We are here continuing my series about El Cid, which I guess this episode is part of the series, but it doesn't necessarily require that you listen to the first two beforehand. I would recommend it. Yeah. But the narrative of that series is still kind of ongoing. I've got another episode, maybe 2, but I think just one more. Looking at my notes, I should be able to wrap it up next week. But there's some more stuff that we want to talk about, so you're not missing out on a whole lot. This is going to be kind of an interlude episode. And I know we hinted at this last time, but Evan and I tracked down and watched the 1961 historical epic film El Cid, which is a Charlton Heston, Sofia Loren vehicle, that sort of classic 60s technicolor cinema spectacle. And there's a lot to kind of admire about it that you don't see in movies today, but there was also quite a bit to kind of roll your eyes at and be rightly critical of, not just in terms of the narrative. But yeah, it was interesting. It's hard to come by. It's not streaming anywhere. I don't believe it's ever been remastered. So the copies you can get, I ended up getting like a Korean Region Zero DVD copy of the movie, which was fine, and it looked and sounded fine. And I think Evan used illicit means.
I sailed the high seas potentially, but yeah, no, it was really good quality. But yeah, it hasn't been like restored in any way.
Right.
I will say, just like briefly, like the movie's like technically it's like good. You know what I mean? It's got it's well shot, very well acted. It's got an amazing score to it. I really like the score.
The score is fucking crazy.
And,
we'll talk a little bit more about it.
And the fucking set designs were insane too.
Dude, the sets in this movie, the costumes, so much of this movie was shot like on scene in Spain.
Yeah, and
which
like
you just don't see anymore.
Shit, yeah.
All these battles were like, at some points there were like 1,500 actual people on screen, like doing like battles. And that's the sort of shit that just gets fucking done in CGI and post nowadays, even in the biggest budget movies. So stuff like that, you're looking at it and you're like, holy fuck, like they made the shit out of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
But then they also just had, there was definitely some brown face going on in it. Those were not, those were white men playing those.
Everybody in this movie was like white British or white American.
Yeah.
And it's a movie about Spain and the Christians versus the North African Berbers and Arabs.
Yeah.
All of whom were played by British and American
and
white
they made them real swarthy too.
Their shoe polish budget for this movie was high.
Yeah, and like some shifty-eyed portrayals going on.
There's a lot to discuss. Yeah. So it's interesting. Many things to be critical of. I do want to I'll give some quick stats about the flick, and then we can just kind of talk about it, because I do want to dive a little bit deeper into some of the things that you just mentioned. So, as I stated, it's a 1961 flick directed by Anthony Mann. Anthony Mann is an American actor. He was big in like film noir and westerns, so he was doing like a lot of genre stuff, and he kind of set out to direct this movie like a Spanish western. That was sort of his idea. Of real note, it was produced by a guy named Samuel Bronston. Now, Samuel Bronston was a pretty big deal film producer during his period. He was actually from modern Moldova, which is cool. You don't hear a lot of people from there. But he had some very interesting ties. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about this here. As I said, there's more to the series coming up, like the series proper, where we'll dive a little bit more into a lot of this stuff. But what's of note to me about this film is that it was made in close cooperation with the fascist Franco regime of Spain, who were at that point and give me a moment, I have to check my notes here, but through their, they had, the Ministry of Information and Tourism was engaged in a program called Operación Propaganda Exterior, Operation External Propaganda, where they were basically like, okay, the Civil War is over, and I know you're hearing some wacky stuff about Spain, but you should still come here for vacation. It's beautiful and we're lovely. And so they, the degree to which, direct funding and stuff was provided for this movie remains a little murky, but they did allow Bronston to build a studio in Spain, which was great, if you're trying to shoot westerns, like big chunks of like the Spanish plains kind of replicate that American Southwest look and vibe. And it is a lot cheaper, or at least was a lot cheaper to film there than in like Southern California. So they had this sort of like cozy relationship where it was agreed that like we would make this movie that really played up the sort of regal, noble Spanish Christian nationalists vibe that Franco was all about, and kind of take this national heroic myth of El Cid and kind of mold it even more to that that skeleton than it already sort of was. And interestingly, we were talking briefly about the battle scenes in this movie. Most of the people that were portraying like cavalry soldiers and soldiers in this film were actual like Spanish fascist regime soldiers who were on loan for the production of the film. And so that's part of why they were able to pull off a lot of these like marching scenes and cavalry scenes so well. These were actual like trained Spanish soldiers, but they were like, you know, they were like brown shirts, dude. They were they were some goose stepping freaks who were filling in this movie. So, like I said, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that later in the series. There is more to the story, and it kind of ties in nicely with some of the medieval propaganda that was being made about this tale. But I guess without wasting too much time on it, let's just chat about the flick, because there are some. Hopefully, you're already realizing, Evan, as my most immediate listener for this tale, there were some major plot departures from what we've learned about the life and times of Rodrigo Diaz del Vivar.
Yeah, and so obviously one of them is they just get rid of the Garcia Jimenez brother. They only have like two brothers. But I would say probably the most insane, and it was driving me crazy, like change that this movie did, and I would have assumed it was because they didn't want people to get confused between Jimena and the Jimenez brothers, but then they never call the Jimenez brothers the Jimenez brothers.
Right.
And they changed the pronunciation of Jimenez's name to Shemaine.
Shemaine.
Yeah.
So the thing about that is, and that's actually worth pointing out, because I was wondering about that, so I looked into it. Yeah. In Old Spanish, that is actually a much closer pronunciation of her name, Ximen or Ximena. Than the modern, which has become Jimena. What's frustrating and hilarious about that is that at basically no other point in the movie is there any attempt at like recreating like period accurate Arabic or Spanish. So it's a weird artistic choice to like be like, okay, well, it's Shemaine because that's how you called it. It's like, okay, well, it's not El Cid, and it's not, you know what I mean? It's not Ben Yusuf. Like everybody in this movie is just like unabashedly like transatlantic sounding, and there's no attempt at like proper pronunciations except with that one weird name, which is still off, but I guess that it was originally spelled with an X and not a J, and you would pronounce the sh more than now it's sort of just aspirated like anyway.
It's actually the same thing with like Don Quixote. It was initially like Don Quixote.
Exactly.
Sorry, what you're saying?
No, go for it.
So another one of those ones too. King Sancho, they always call him Sancho.
Oh, and Urraca.
Urraca.
The Princess Urraca is Urraca.
Maldito el amor, maldita la ley, bendito el ladrón, maldita mi sangre que es un callejón, maldito follo sin condón, el magallo de todo el barracón. Estoy loco pues lleva razón, fabrico tormentas, soy Poseidón. El pantano en que vivo despista el destino. Bebo litros de ron cuando no estás conmigo. Mi corazón negro podrido y roído, y mil veces herido, y mil veces cosido, y mil veces pregunta que por qué te has ido. Y yo, el pantano en que vivo despista el destino. Bebo litros de ron cuando no estás conmigo. Mi corazón negro podrido y roído, y mil veces herido, y mil veces cosido, y mil veces pregunta que por qué te has ido. Me pongo tofino y sangro en la bañera, solo 2 gotas de vino y casera. No está embarazada, me he corrido fuera. Vete a la farmacia y te pillas la prueba. No importa que grite, me manda al infierno. Me subo y me bajo ya desde pequeño. Yo soy maldito, me está consumiendo. Te follo todo duro y te suena hard techno. Sé llegar a la cima sin arnés, ruleta rusa y cano al ajedrez. Aunque me robe los cuadros de la pared, siento decirte no es la primera vez que me engañan y me pueden los excesos, y me corto con el sabor de los besos. En las curvas donde yo manejo, aunque esté lejos me quema el reflejo.
Llamadas perdidas que no encontraremos. He venido a jugar, lo demás ya veremos. Lo que pudo haber sido nunca lo sabremos. He soltado el timón, marineros, una en cada puerto. Entre tanta botella no me alcanza la vista para ver.
So it does follow the basic outline of events, at least to start, that we've kind of learned about El Cid, right? But pretty much immediately the movie departs, and rather than sort of showcasing a realistic sort of brutality of the era, what you get very quickly is the introduction of El Cid, of Rodrigo Diaz de Vivar as a well, okay, so Charlton Heston was 38 when they filmed this movie. It's a tough 38, dude.
Yeah.
I just turned 35. It's actually my birthday today. Happy birthday to me.
Yeah.
I just turned 35. I'm not saying I look great, but Charlton Heston looks 50.
He looks like he's 50, yeah.
He looks 50 in that movie. I had to look it up. 38 years old.
I did not know that he was that young in that. Oh, my God.
Insane.
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, fair enough, right? He's this, like, goody two-shoes, like, American quarterback dude who, like, has the hair and everything to match. And he saves a village from a brutal attack by the Moors. The evil Muslim Moors.
Yeah.
And, you know, a local monk is like, oh, how did you arrive here in time? He's like, I was actually on my way to my wedding.
Yeah.
This was the fastest way to my bride. So he's just like a good guy who's like excited to go get married, and he happened to like fight a quick battle en route, and so there's that,
and then
we're also
saved the cross as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. He's very devout. He's very loyal. They really play up his devotion to Spain.
Yeah.
Portugal never mentioned.
No.
Spain
Never mentioned.
And Christ. Meanwhile, we get this really awesome, menacing introduction to Ben Yusuf, who is, of course, of Ibn Yusuf of the Almoravids, who is our kind of overarching antagonist of this film. And in that initial scene, I was like, one of the first notes I wrote was like, okay, they did a lot to like visually kind of capture the distinction between the Almoravids and the Andalusian Muslims, right? Like they actually got right that like the Almoravids famously, like the men were veiled. You know, they had this very like stark, very kind of menacing look to them that I think was played up for the movie kind of racistly, but like they did, even to the people at the time, seem more intimidating because you couldn't see their faces. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but throughout the course of the movie, the veil on Ibn Yusuf, he was like a bad, like some kid during COVID who didn't want to wear the mask. So like as the scenes progress, it's like getting lower on his face. Finally, there's a scene where it's like just his nose is poking out.
Yeah.
And he's just and then at the end, he just isn't wearing it.
Yeah,
like he just takes it off completely.
Yep.
So I don't know what that was about. But just to my point, the costumes were kind of all over the place. And like sometimes they were always gorgeous.
Yeah.
They were always like beautiful. And you just don't see, you know, as Evan kind of said, you don't see like set pieces like this. You don't see costume design like this in a lot of modern movies. Ridley Scott is great for that, like, but not all directors give a shit about that in the same way. This shit was stunning. It was spectacular, but some of it was goofy. Like you'd look at, you know, the way that the Moorish emirs were dressed, and they would have, you know, like Arabic inscriptions on their clothes, but it was fake. It was all just like squiggles.
I'm sorry. Don't you mean the amirs?
Oh yeah, the amirs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I will say too, like for the whole movie, it is like incredibly self-serious, which I think is like one of the big detractors I have of it. Is like this is like a very somber portrayal of the story of El Cid.
Yeah, it's very melodramatic.
Yeah.
The relationship between El Cid and his wife, Shemaine, is bizarre. One of the early conceits of the movie. Right, so he's on his way to his wedding. He captures these two amirs who are sacking this Christian village, and they turn out to be none other than, who have both showed up in our narrative, Al-Mutamin, who in real life was the emir of Zaragoza, under whom El Cid would go on to serve, and then would later have kind of a complex relationship with his son. And Al-Qadir, originally of Valencia, who has shown up in our story a little bit as well. They very clearly demark which of these two is like the honorable Moor and which is like the shifty fucking fuckhead, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
And stuff like that in this movie, I think is sort of, to your point, is really heavy-handed. Like there's never any doubt like who who is going to be what type of character, because the shifty guy is sitting there like chubby and sweating and looking side to side and smirking, and the honorable guy is like chiseled and handsome with a really nice goatee, and he's like, I am good and you can trust me, and you can. Because Al-Mutameen is a fucking stud in this movie. He's just great. And so they both get brought back to Vivar, right, in front of Rodrigo's father, the Lord of Vivar, and he's like, I captured these Moors. What should we do? And everybody's like, we should hang them. And he's like, they're my prisoners. I don't want to hang them. And then at this point, a messenger of King Fernando, Lord Ordóñez, arrives and is like, I'm taking them. You know, he's one of these scumbag guys. Like, I'm taking them. We're going to hang
Fernando. Them. They call him Ferdinand.
Yeah, they call him Ferdinand. That's right. I'm taking them.
Yeah.
And Rodrigo's like, no, will you guys promise never again to fight against Christians? And of course, Al-Mutameen, who plays like the honorable, good man in brown face, is like, of course not. I swear before Allah, like, I will always be there when you need me. Yeah. And I will call you El Cid. Like, just like that. Like,
he's like, we always have a man that like you in our villages, and we call him El Cid. Yeah. Like, it's like, there's always one El Cid there. It's so, just like, all right.
He gets his nickname right off the bat. Yeah. You're El Cid, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm not, like, hamming it up. That's how they pronounced it in the movie. There's not even an attempt to be like El Said or like El Cid. It's just El Cid. You're El Cid, man. That's what we say in where I come from in the Moorish lands. And then the other dude, Al-Qadir, is just like, yes, of course. So this in the movie is portrayed as the point in which the initial question of El Cid's loyalty comes, right? He refuses honorably to kill these Moors because they've sworn to God that they will not, betray him. And so he has to, like, defend himself at the court of the king, and his betrothed, Shemaine, who is played by Sofia Loren, who I will say, I understand the hype about Sofia Loren, a thoroughly kissable individual. Yeah. And she does the emotionally kind of complex, brooding Spanish wife very well.
Yes.
And so anyway, so she is like in love with him, so in love with him. And then he gets accused in front of the court of treason, and then the king's champion, who is her father, for whatever reason, like knowing that his daughter's about to marry this guy, like, backs the king up and is like, yeah, this guy sucks, and his dad sucks. And then he like challenges his Rodrigo's old dad to a duel, and so Rodrigo shows up at the house and he's like, hey, can you just apologize to my father? Like, we both know you're lying. I love your daughter. I'm going to be your son-in-law. Like, why would you do that? And he's just like, he gives this line that I just really, really love. And he says something to the effect of, it's not that. Where does it say it? Oh, yeah. So he begs him. He's like, please, just apologize. You don't even have to say it in front of anybody. Just say it to me right now, and I'll take this whole thing lying down. And he's like, I cannot apologize. It's not that I don't want to. I do not know how to. It's like all the dialogue is like super overwrought like this, and it's, like you said, super self-important. And so he kills his like beloved's dad. He like sword fights him and fucking kills him. And then
to like regain his honor, yeah. Like, and the guy, and he keeps saying too, he was like, "You will not sword fight me to regain your honor." Basically, he's just like, "I will not allow you to do this." And El Cid is like, "No, but I really want to." He's like, "No, yes, no, yes, okay, fine."
And that guy is supposed to be like the king's best champion, and he is like 50 years old.
Yeah. I mean, and, at like, least 50 years old. He looks like he's like older than that too.
Yeah, it's like some tubby dude.
Yeah, it's like why would this like borderline elderly man be the king's champion? Yeah, it's like you can't. I mean, maybe in his prime. Man. Yeah,
gods, I was strong then. But so an interesting point. So we're talking about like how kind of melodramatic and heavy-handed the dialogue was. Interestingly, I guess the initial screenplay for this film was written by two guys named Philip Jordan and Frederick Frank, who were, contracted by the producer Bronston to help him make an El Cid movie to kind of basically make Francisco Franco happy and like help him get subsidies to shoot films in Spain.
Yeah, because Francisco Franco like considered himself to be like El Cid, like he like looked up to him, and it's
right.
Like,
he made numerous comparisons to himself, and so this was, even though it wasn't necessarily presented that way at the time, this was essentially just like a Hollywood-funded fascist propaganda piece for the dictator of Spain. Which is hysterical and like very on brand, but like not the sort of thing that you maybe hear about all that often.
Yeah.
So apparently their initial script was like so bad and so dumb that when they reached out to both Charlton Heston and Sofia Loren, who were the top choices to play both of the lead roles in the movie, particularly Sofia Loren was like, okay, I like the idea of this movie. This script is so bad that I won't do it. Like I can't be associated with this film because like, you know, and let's be real, Sofia Loren, not like the world's greatest actress, but she had a reputation to uphold, and she didn't want to fucking do it. So she suggested that they hire a guy named Ben Bartzman, who, interestingly enough, was one of many Hollywood screenwriters who at that time was completely blacklisted due to the House Un-American Activities Committee. Whack. And so he was, at least nominally, had some socialist leanings or something. Yeah. And so he basically, by all accounts, took the script and rewrote it completely from top to bottom, and got everybody involved to agree to do the movie. But they couldn't credit him in the movie because, you know, he was blacklisted. He might be a commie. So he's not credited in the actual film credits. I think in more recent editions, they finally added his name. Yeah. It's finally on the Wikipedia. But when he sent his draft out, he had basically cut all the like cheesy melodrama and all the fucking romance, and they were like, "Well, we got to keep some of that because like people want to see someone's got to smooch Sofia Loren if she's in the movie." Yeah. So they like tucked some of that back in, or a lot of that back in, and that's like the final result we have. It's an interesting final product, to be sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Brought him in as a script doctor, eh?
He was apparently like a script. Necromancer, dude. He like brought that shit back from the dead. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, this sort of kicks off like a long, the overarching theme of the movie, without giving away every point, because it's, you know, whatever. If you're interested in this series that I'm working on, like, this is the movie about El Cid. There's a more recent Spanish one that apparently is pretty tough. Yeah. There's some animated movie, but this is like the definitive. This is, you know, my parents recognized this movie. Like, it was well known and well received at the time. I think it still sits at like 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, so the reviews at the time were positive. But it's tough, and one of the overarching themes is this, like, the Christians are tolerant and believe in peace, and are, of the characters involved, are the most willing to live in harmony with one another. And it's the devilish and insidious and greedy Moors of the South who covet the northern Christian lands and whatever. And that basically runs entirely counter to the narrative that we've been establishing on the show, which is not to discount, you know, the bloodshed caused by rulers from both sides of Iberia, but it was not as cut and dry as this movie makes it seem. And so every following plot development in the movie kind of serves to hammer home that point. And nobody is like a worse, like, more egregious cartoon of a character than Rodrigo, our lead, El Cid, who is like just such a fucking goody two shoes. Every decision, even if it makes no like functional sense for furthering the plot, he will choose the like disgustingly baby-faced fucking honorable option every time. And it's just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, he actually makes no, like, if you look at him as a human being and take every decision he makes throughout the movie, he makes no sense as like as a living person. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not entirely sure I know what you mean. I mean, yeah, he's like definitely like, goody two shoes, like a, oh gosh, mister, kind of a portrayal, like, but
I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, okay, so like the big climactic battle, right, where they're supposed to be fighting at Sagrajas, which we've talked about in our narrative, the Battle of Sagrajas. In reality, King Alfonso, by now, who had defeated his brothers, tried to surprise attack Bin Yusuf, who was landing in the south of Spain and was defeated, right? There's no mention of El Cid actually participating in that battle at all. They kind of combine parts of the narrative of the later battle, the siege of Valencia, when Alfonso demanded that El Cid come and help him, and he didn't show up on time for whatever reason, and that led to his second banishment, which is sort of where we left off the last episode.
Yep.
In this movie, they sort of combine that together, and you get this like really weird decision by Cid, who's like, throughout the movie, he's constantly basically like, I serve the king no matter what. You're the best. You're the best. And then periodically, he'll just like not actually do that. So like the king will be like, okay, well, I think we need to go defeat them at Sagrajas. They're landing, and if we defeat them there, we can win. And if you join me, we're almost assured victory. And El Cid is like, no, we have to take Valencia. And the king is like, no, we got to go to Sagrajas. So El Cid like dips off and goes to take Valencia with the help of Al-Mutamin.
Yeah.
And he captures the city, but because he's not there, like the king loses the Battle of Sagrajas. And at no point in the movie is it like even addressed that like probably a bad decision by El Cid. Like he wins his battle, but he leaves the king high and dry. The king loses.
Yep.
And then it leads to this like second pitched battle where now Ben Yusuf is attacking Valencia. El Cid gets hit with an arrow, and they're like, okay, we can definitely save you. And he's like, nah, I'd rather... He pulls like a Bob Marley, and he's like, I'd rather go out on top. And he fucking dies. And he's like, my dying wish was to like strap my corpse to my horse, send me out into fucking battle, and let me ride with you tomorrow one last time. And so they do. So like the climactic battle happens. They fucking strap him to his horse. He's dead.
Yeah, he was wounded by an arrow in the previous battle. And the doctor said that he had a chance to live if they're able to extract the arrow, but if it stays in there, whatever fucking reason that you would just keep an arrow in your fucking chest, that he'll die. And he's like, no. I don't understand why he couldn't have just gotten the arrow taken out and then also ridden into battle again the next day.
Right.
But he's like, no, leave it in. And
I think they said that he would be like incapacitated and unable to fight because he was recovering. But whatever. So he's like, no. But then he dies before the battle anyway. Yeah. He leaves the arrow in. He lets himself die. Yeah. And they strap his fucking grinning corpse to his horse, and like it rides out, and the whole enemy army, seeing that he's dead, because they're seeing that he's alive, they've been hearing that he's dead, so they see him ride out. And they're just like, fuck it, we quit, dude.
Yeah, they just flee.
And there's all these scenes in the movie where they show him like that scene where it's he's trying to save Alfonso, right? Alfonso and Sancho have their little fight. Yeah. Sancho's like, I'm going to be the one and true king, and he tries to imprison his brother. And El Cid, I guess, decides...
He tries to kill his brother. First was it Alfonso attacks
tries
Sancho,
to kill him.
And then Sancho gets the upper hand.
Like, at their dad's funeral. He's
Yeah.
We must divide the kingdom, as father wished.
Yeah.
And he's like, no! I'm going to be the only king, and they have a knife fight.
Yeah. Sancho nearly kills Alfonso, and then is it Urraca who comes in with her mother or something like that?
It's
comes
Urraca.
In? Yeah. And she's just like, no, you guys need to stop. What are you doing? And then like they both like basically plot to kill each other after that. Yeah. Sancho, like there's a lot of back. That's the thing that's funny about this movie is that it's like trying to take this like noble take on like the Christian lords,
right?
Except that it just shows them constantly stabbing each other in the back. Right. Literally and figuratively throughout the movie.
And so, like, I guess that's what I mean about El Cid not making sense, is in order to shoehorn this obviously, like, super convoluted narrative that's rife with, like, betrayals and plotting and people switching sides, they try to make it seem like, despite all of the plot points pointing to that kind of stuff, he's still somehow this, like, loyal guy. So he, like... refuses to allow Sancho to kidnap Alfonso, which is acting against the will of King Sancho. But then, like, 5 minutes later, he, like, refuses to help Alfonso fight in a battle against Sancho because I can't help one king fight another king.
He took an oath to both kings.
Right.
You see, so the only thing that he can do is walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Alfonso has Sancho killed and, like, stabbed in the back. And, like, this, like, double cross where they try to, it's like, he sends out somebody, like, some agent to, like, tell Sancho, hey, I know a way a secret way into this keep. But
Right.
it's just gotta be us two that goes. Like, come on, Sancho, really? You're falling for like the...
Yeah, he's like, I'm unarmed. I'm like, this guy's got a knife.
Yeah, yeah. Like, Sancho...
He's got a knife somewhere.
Sancho, you're giving it to them, man. Like, you're walking right into a trap.
And they just ride right up to the castle walls.
Yeah, they just walk right up there, and guess what? The guy
It's around this corner.
Yeah, and this guy had a knife hidden at the wall, and he just takes out and stabs Sancho right in the back.
And El Cid just happened to be right there at this, like, random back entrance to the castle.
Yeah.
Sees it. Then the guy, like, goes to go inside, and who's there? It's El Cid. He kills him.
Mm-hmm.
Also a tough look, because it's like, okay, you're just the only person who witnessed the murder of a king.
I know, I was thinking the exact
And you
same
immediately
thing.
kill the one guy who could testify?
Yeah. And now you're sitting there with, like, a bloody, like, dagger and
And
shit
yeah,
like that.
and the king is dead, and this ostensibly loyal soldier is dead. Mm-hmm. And there's nobody to back you up.
Yeah, like...
But whatever.
Yeah, but everybody believes him right away. There's no question that...
Well, because after that initial issue, when his honor was called into question, he wins, like, a trial by combat. They do this big, like... Which, by the way, like, that whole scene was silly, because stuff like that didn't exist at this point. Like, that's a much, like, a late medieval, like, jousting, things like that. That's a much later... medieval convention.
Yeah.
I mean, there was early versions of it, like they had tournaments and stuff, but like the costumes, the helmets, even like the way that they were like tilting at lists, like with like the breakable lances, that's all like an anachronistic thing. And so he like wins this trial by combat, and after that, it's just like established to everyone in the movie that like, okay, this guy is always honest.
Yeah, no, just to be clear, this trial by combat, so this is to, like, establish his innocence from, like, being a traitor to begin with, right? Like, he has that battle with his future father-in-law, but that's not the real trial by combat. That's just, I don't know, the guy decided to step to him, trial by combat. And then there's, like, a full-pitched trial by combat, which is actually a pretty brutal scene. I really like that scene.
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome.
And he wins, and so, yeah, now at this point, everybody's like, well, God clearly is on his side, so he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And
except
that's at the beginning of the movie. This isn't at this
Shemaine fucking hates him, dude.
Oh yeah, so
for the first half of the movie, she tries to get him killed. She hates him, and then she just like decides one day, she's like, you know what,
dude,
I've been such a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's just like suddenly, all of a sudden, she's like, actually, I do love you. I've always loved you,
and I'm coming with you.
It's like, you tried to kill this dude like fucking 3 times, lady. Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody is scheming against each other and against El Cid. But El Cid is, gosh, golly, mister, kind of a goody two-shoes.
Right, and like each individual like vignette of him making a call in the movie on its own is like, okay, this is super honorable. But when you stitch them all together, you're like, God damn, this guy's fickle. Like he's just deciding shit. Like he's not like he's a dumb guy.
Yeah.
He's dumb. He's just really good at fighting, but he can't figure out what he thinks is best. And then there's like there's that scene, right? So he's like off, and Shemaine's finally joined him, and they finally share like a beautiful night together. And this is, as far as I can tell in the movie, the first time they've consummated their marriage. So he like has convinced her to marry him despite hating him, but they like hate each other. There's all these like tense scenes where they like won't talk and yada yada. And they finally, she like tells him she loves him. She goes into exile with him, and they like spend the night in a barn. Yeah. And as far as I can tell, this is like the only time they fuck in the whole movie.
Yeah, yeah.
They have sex one time.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
and hold on. So they are talking about like, you know what? This is great. Actually, we have our love. That's all we could possibly want. Let's run away together. Let's just find a place where no one knows who we are, and we can just have a nice life. And he's like, yep, sounds good. Opens the door. There's 100 guys outside.
Yep.
And they're all like, Sid, lead us. We love you. Yeah. And his wife's like, no, he's going to go with the boys. Yeah. And he does. And he drops her off at a convent, and he's like, sorry, I know we talked about this, but like, I'm about that life. Like, I fuck with being a knight so heavy. So he joins this like group of dudes, and then the movie just like cuts to intermission, right? They're like, okay, he leaves. He's got all these armed men. How's he going to feed them and make a living for himself? Now we know he's like raping and pillaging and fucking conquering and fighting and all this shit. But the movie, how do they handle that? How do they handle the life of El Cid in exile? What is he up to? How do we explain the intervening 5 years or whatever in the story? They don't. It cuts, and it actually cuts really abruptly, like soundtrack point. And then it's just like a different scene, and he shows up, and he's got like a graying beard now, so you know he's older. And he just like comes back to Alfonso, and he's like, "Hey man, I heard you needed me, and I have always loved you, and I just still want to be your boy."
Yo. Chacho, no voy borracho, voy colocado. Estoy esperando algo que me quite este pecado. Ya no miro para arriba y ahora miro para los lados. Voy tocado de todos esos porros que yo me he fumado. Chacho, no voy borracho, voy colocado. Estoy esperando algo que me quite este pecado. Ya no miro para arriba y ahora miro para los lados. Voy tocado de todos esos porros que yo me he fumado.
Es como estar loco, como el lobo con el choto, como el niño con la moto, bebiendo habanero, fumando moroco. Un saludo para los sacri, le follen a la popo, como rapero, bebo del Duero, lo tuyo un pucherazo, lo mío puchero, lo remuevo con esmero, soy mero mero, tú tienes caramelo, yo fumo caramelo, de los Pokémon a los canelos, del canelo al perico, del perico al talego, lo que quiero me lo llevo, desde luego, eso está claro, eso está bueno, mi familia y su salud, ese es mi consuelo, vengo con el dólar, comerme los huevos, te meto candela, te camelo, venimos de la acera, tiramos pa'l cielo.
Chacho, no voy borracho, voy colocado. Estoy esperando algo que me quite este pecado. Ya no miro para arriba y ahora miro para los lados.
Oh, he becomes Team Alfonso so hard.
So hard.
Like, dude,
even though Alfonso and
It's
Urraca
like
are portrayed as like a little, like kind of a Lannister-y fucking incestuous.
There's
They're
some
fucking, dude.
Yeah, there's definitely some incestuous. I wouldn't even say undertones. It's like pretty explicit. They don't show them like kiss or anything like that. But they're like hanging out in bed
There's
together.
some moments where like she like brushes his cheek with her nose, and like I don't know about you, but my sister's never done that to me.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
there's that, and then there's the bed scene
implied.
as well. When like he has like a bad dream, so he runs to her bed. And he's just like tells her how bad his dream was, and then she like comforts him and like takes him into the bed and like holds his head against her chest and whatnot.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, they're definitely, dude, they're bumping uglies.
There's something happening here.
Yeah, and they're obviously also portrayed constantly as scheming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
even when like, sorry.
Yeah. But that's what I was saying is that like El Cid, clearly, like, earlier in the movie, he doesn't have the highest opinion of these guys. He loves his king, Ferdinand. But Sancho and Alfonso, clearly he's like, yeah, these kids they're trifling. And but then, like, after the intermission, he is, like, fucking Team Alfonso so hard. Like, he's just constantly proclaiming Alfonso's, like, might and, like, his like, eminence, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very strange, and it I don't know. The at every turn in this movie, the characterization of the characters is like constantly at odds with the events that are occurring. I guess that's kind of what I've been trying to hammer home. Like, the narrative of the story kind of closely follows history.
Yeah.
But the way that they've, like, changed all of the characters to fit the fucking molds they're trying to fit, it, like, doesn't make sense that those characters would get those results. I don't know. The whole thing ends up feeling very convoluted, very confused, and there's, like, no attempt to reconcile, you know... And at this, I mean, I have to think that, like, at least in Spain, to, like, some people that this history was known, but maybe it wasn't, you know, in the 50s and 60s. Maybe it just really wasn't. And maybe this movie wasn't as popular there as it was here. But it certainly, you know, when I've mentioned El Cid, especially to older people that I know, this movie, they know it. And, like, it's what they know of that story. And people say, like, oh, that's a good movie. Yeah. And it's like, you know what?
Dude, Martin Scorsese calls it, or at least, you know, this is, like, back in the 90s, he called it, like, one of the greatest historical epics of all time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get that. Yeah. I don't think it holds up to even some of its contemporaries. Like, I think Ben-Hur is a better movie. You know, I think Lawrence of Arabia is a better movie.
Yeah.
And again, those are movies with plenty of flaws, like as far as
hear something crazy?
Historicity. But what's that?
I haven't seen either of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's bonkers. Those I would have thought you would have seen both of those movies.
Nah, I haven't watched them yet.
I haven't seen either of them in a very long time.
I know. I know. Friend of the pod, Pat, saw like Lawrence of Arabia in like 70 millimeter.
Yeah.
Like this was probably like a year ago or something like that. But
this
yeah,
film was shot in 70 mil.
Yeah, it was. Yep. My copy of it said that right there. 70 millimeter. It was very widescreen.
Yes. Mine was also very, very widescreen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting. So and we talked about. I just want to also talk about the score, which was done by Hungarian American composer Miklos Rózsa.
Yeah.
Miklos Rózsa. Great score, dude.
Yeah, very good score.
But we did talk. The sound mixing on this movie is fucking insane.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was the most. Dude, I had my TV cranked up almost all the way it could go, so I could hear the dialogue in some scenes.
And then the score would come in, and it's
and
like,
and I'm like bleeding from the ears. And the thing is, not all the dialogue was quiet. It was just sometimes the dialogue was like insanely quiet. Like almost, like literally, if your TV was at like a normal level, it would have been inaudible. Like you probably wouldn't have even been able to tell that people were talking.
Literally, it was. I was constantly having to up and down the volume with the remote. Like it was up and down, listening, raise and lower. Okay,
upping and downing.
I was upping and downing the sounds. I was raising and lowering the volume. Pretty frequently because of that. But all that said, like the soundtrack to this movie, the score is like awesome.
Yeah,
it's definitely like I'm sure if you released a movie now with this score, it would feel like some well-trodden musical territory. But for a movie of the time, it's like kind of like the archetypal epic historical film score. It's sweeping, it's often beautiful. Obviously it's all real orchestral instruments. It's not like nowadays, even like, okay, to continue like comparing to something like Game of Thrones, like that whole score by Raymond Djawadi is digital. It's all like programmed instrumentation, at least in the earlier seasons. Like the theme song to that, which sounds like it's orchestral, but it's not. It's programmed instruments, and that's true of lots of films now. Maybe not the largest budgets where you can get some big composer, but it's often the case, especially like TV shows are a better example. And so hearing like a truly orchestrated score played by a full orchestra, it's like there's nothing like it. It's so good.
And the movie, it was pretty good, although I'm not gonna lie, by the end I was definitely like it's on my phone. I didn't pay too much attention to the last 15 minutes.
I mean, listen, you know me. I am a fan of the 90-minute movie.
Yeah, the tight 90. Yep.
Really love a tight 90. And this spills over 3 hours. It's a biggin'. I split it up into 2 sittings. I watched half of it today. I watched half of it the other day. It's a long one, and it definitely drags. But you know what? I would rate it. I would say you should go fucking see it, if you have the opportunity. I was gonna say to give our classic rating system here on Left Unread. Longtime listeners of the pod will be aware of the Alexander the Great episode we did with the friends of the pod, Ian and Patrick. The Oliver Stone movie, and there we developed a rating method called Heston thighs. How many Heston thighs would you like to slide your business into intercurrally style? And I believe both of us gave this one 3.5 Heston thighs. Oh yeah, did you look at my letterbox?
Yeah.
So 3.5. It was a solid 3.5, and I think a 3.5. I think sometimes our scales differ, but I think we both kind of settle on a 3.5 being like an enjoyable but flawed experience. Like go see it.
3.5 is like definitely recommend.
See it. Like, are there things to quibble about? Yeah. Is it going on my greatest of all time list? No. Are there individual things about it that I think are as good as I've ever seen in a movie? Absolutely. Like the sets and some like I said, all the outdoor shots, they're real. They're not done in some fucking Hollywood studio.
That's not studio magic. That is a real fucking castle. And there's hillsides in Spain.
Beautiful shots in this movie, and stuff that you just don't see. And so like for that alone, and like I said, all the battle scenes, there's no like trickery. Like there's wide shots of like 300 dudes on horseback. Like it's cool. Like, that shit rocks.
Yeah, just firing, like, rounds and rounds of arrows off and
Yeah.
shit like that.
Yeah,
And
like, in
raining.
screen. Like,
Yeah.
there's, they must have been, like, tipped with cushions or something. But, yeah, no, there's, like, it's bonkers. Like, and I get it. You probably can't shoot scenes like that in the same way now, because, like, I guarantee you people got hurt. I guarantee you animals got hurt making this movie.
Yeah. Oh, dude, there were definitely must have been broken bones, because some of those, and horses, I'm just going to imagine.
They used to trip horses in movies and shit. And they
but,
definitely
dude, there's,
did that in this movie.
brutal falls off of, like, horses and shit in this movie. Dude, there's one where fucking Charlton Heston, I assume it's a stunt double, literally goes underneath a horse.
Like
during the
he holds up the saddle.
Yeah,
and fucking
and like,
that's a real shot that a guy did.
Yeah, like goes underneath a charging horse to flip it over. Like,
okay, so that to bring it back, during the trial by combat in the first 45 minutes of the movie. That's one of the best scenes in the movie. That kicks ass.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
they filmed a really brutal, like, medieval night on night fucking combat, and like, there's a scene where he's unhorsed and the fucking other dude is charging him, and as stunt double, as Evan's saying, like, picks up his horse's saddle, holds it in front of him, and with his own body fucking trips a charging horse, and they filmed that shit.
Yeah, I'm like,
there's
that guy could have died.
It's like Jackass shit, dude.
Yeah,
like, there are multiple scenes in this movie where they're doing stuff that, like, that shit ain't allowed, and for good reason. Like, it shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, that one literally, I sat up and just went, "What the fuck?" when that happened. When he just
I rewound it. It was actually, no. I have to be honest with you. I couldn't rewind my copy.
Yeah.
There was no rewind function. So anytime that I wanted to rewatch a scene, I had to restart the entire little DVD chapter.
Yeah.
So it probably took me like 3.5 hours to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Because anytime I needed to, like, recheck something, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And had to just go back and rewatch it. Yep. So I'm good on 3-hour movies for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, without giving the whole plot away, like, I think we've touched on some major points. It's definitely compelling. It's definitely worth checking out. And especially as, like, a supplement to what we're talking about now, I also think that it would be kind of interesting for you, the listener, to see just how different, you know, the modern understanding of this time up until pretty recently was. And, you know, when we talk about, because, you know, I've made references at this point to, like, you know, the way that this story has been twisted or whatever. It's really hard sometimes to contextualize that without, like, reading the entirety of, like, some of the later but more contemporary sources about it, or reading whole books about it. This movie's a really good way to kind of see, like, holy shit, like, did people actually think this was just, like, what happened?
Yeah.
It's bonkers. It's so out of touch, and so frequently just, like, and you can tell that they were doing it on purpose, because they included enough real shit that you're like, all right, these guys knew the story of El Cid.
Yeah.
They were just like, people won't know, they won't care, let's fucking make this shit bang.
Yeah.
So that's basically it, I think, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about the movie.
Nope, that's it.
I did also want to just mention, and maybe even propose a new movie rating system. Heston thighs are great, but what if we switched it to alpha dongs, dude? We saw that fucking movie. No, I don't think we should really change it. Yeah, no. But I just wanted to tie in with 28 years later.
Which has a man with a penis quite literally like the size of my forearm.
Yeah, it's fake. It's fake. I just learned this.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently
because
well, the male lead is like 13 years old, so legally no real genitals could be shown. So it was all prosthetic. So that guy might actually have a hog that's 8 inches soft, but I don't want to spoil anything because that movie's in theaters, but you guys should see it. Like, I think I liked it.
I liked it a lot,
Yeah, weird fucking movie.
Yeah.
And I will say, what I've said to everybody that's asked me how the movie was, you could watch that entire movie, pause it with 5 minutes left, and I could give you 100 guesses. You would never fucking guess what's happening at the end. Like, nobody who has not had it spoiled could ever fucking guess how this movie's going to end.
Yeah. I mean,
if you got it, it would be because you were just fucking taking wild guesses and got it right by accident.
Yeah. But you would never guess it. You would never guess it. It's like, that movie has, like, multiple, like, extremely jarring tonal shifts. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like
insane.
Yeah, because, you know, it starts off it pretty much, like, makes sense with 28 days and 28 weeks later. like very tonally, it's the same thing. It's like a zombie flick, like it looks like those movies. And then all of a sudden, it like turns into like an adventure movie between a young boy and his like sick mom. But like also features like there's one part where Alex Garland, the screenwriter, basically just does like a Type 5 stand-up set on lip fillers. They're just like it was like really funny, and like the entire theater is just like laughing out loud with us while we were there. Like it is quite literally like a Type 5 comedy set just on like plastic surgery and lip fillers. There's that, and then then it like all the stuff with Ralph Fiennes happens. And then, the end
bizarre, but like also like oddly touching.
Yeah. And then, the last 5 minutes, and you're just like, what?
Oh, I think at one point, at the very end of that movie, out loud in a fairly full theater, I looked at my friend next to us and I said, "What the fuck is this movie?" It's like, holy shit. Like, there were so many points where I was like, what the fuck am I watching right now? Yeah. And to be clear, I stand by that so completely. I like that. I felt that way about Sinners. Like, is that like a flawed flick in many ways? Sure. But like, fun as hell. Great movie theater movie. And like, I like that directors are making bonkers shit. Yeah. I like that they're making fucking weird horror movies with like a fucking political undertones that are like also sort of musicals. Like that's great. This movie was bizarre and like you said, tonally so inconsistent, but in a way that I'm like completely fine with because isn't life,
Yeah. And I would say I'm very excited for the second one because we get to figure out what the
ending
fuck is going on with those guys at the end.
Dude, the ending of this movie cemented how stoked I am, because part 2 is, like, guaranteed to be off the fucking rails.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no way... What, are they going to end it like that and then just make some fucking boring-ass classical zombie movie? Yeah. So definitely a good one. Definitely worth seeing. And a good, like, counterpoint to what we're talking about with El Cid. This movie also had some really, really beautiful shots, but they were all so very clearly, like, computer-heavy. And so,
they filmed the whole movie on iPhones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, which is cool. Like, and I'm not detracting from that. Like, it's cool to see directors utilizing equipment that's available to them and technology that's available to them. Yeah. And if the end result is cool, then who fucking cares, right? I'm not some purist about like no CGI. If it's good CGI or if it's well implemented, great. Like, the technology exists, use it. Yeah. But the contrast of something like that, where like there's like that one scene in 28 Years Later when they're like running from the Alpha on the bridge, and like it's stunning, like a gorgeous scene, and I can't remember a scene in a recent movie that I would say is more beautiful to my eye than that. It's like up there, it's really stunning, but it's all studio magic. And then you contrast that with like Sid riding past the fucking distant hills of northern Spain and approaching the Three Crosses and the monk, and you're just like, holy fuck, like that's actually Spain. And it's beautiful just because it is beautiful. Like they didn't do anything. That's just that's Spain at sunset, brother. Like that shit rocks. So it's cool. It's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, and then there's movies like the one I watched last night, which was called O Zombie, which was about it was from like 2012. It's a Tubi find. Shouts out to my fellow Tubi heads. This one featured Osama bin Laden at his
no fucking way
at his compound in Pakistan, and he had an army of terrorist zombies that he was unleashing on the NATO combined forces there.
Dude, yes.
So it's terrorist.
Oh, zombie?
Yeah, oh zombie, yeah.
Oh zombie.
Yeah, oh zombie. And yeah, it features like a like Osama bin Laden zombie with like his army of zombie terrorists. This movie, I mean, they definitely put money into it, but at first you think it's going to be a lot more competent than it is. Yeah. It's got like some of the most insane dialogue I've ever heard in my life. And it also did this thing where like all of the characters were like trying to do like a 1980s Schwarzenegger thing where it's just like a bunch of like cheesy one-liners as they kill things. Except, like, they just don't make any fucking sense. Like, none of the jokes are, like, good or make sense in any way, shape, or form. And it's got, like, the worst gunfire CGI I've ever seen in my life.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And
I mean, it sounds like a winner.
Yeah.
I might have to see this. I'm not a Tubi head like you, but I do enjoy a good, bad Tubi flick. You turned me on to that.
Yeah. Tubi rules.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, I think we've probably hit it. We've probably done the thing. Yep. I will say thank you guys so much for everybody that's listened so far to this series. It's good to kind of feel like I'm putting out listenable shit again, and the numbers are looking pretty nice. So I appreciate it. Definitely check out this flick if you'd like. And don't worry if you... I guess what I'll say is this. Don't worry if you see this movie and haven't finished our, like, layout of, like, El Cid's actual life. There's no need to be concerned that you will have spoiled, like... the actual events for yourself, because it's so fucking bonkers and different, and like, who cares? Yep. All right, so yeah, I guess without further ado, we should talk about the Patreon. If you guys are interested, and with extra, we do have a Patreon. It is at www.patreon.com/leftunread. We do ask that, especially if you are using an Apple product, that you do not use the Patreon app. That just go onto your web browser and enter the URL and navigate to us that way. Apple will, as of about 6 months ago or sometime last year, will tack on an additional surcharge that, doesn't go towards us, doesn't go towards Patreon. It literally just goes towards Apple for, like, the luxury of
convenience
going on
fee,
Patreon on their fucking devices. So we always post that URL in the show notes, and we thank those of you who have stuck with us on there. And if you have not but are considering returning now that we're making cool content again, we encourage that, and we just appreciate it. If you do not want to or are not able to subscribe to the Patreon, that is totally cool. We understand. We appreciate you guys liking and listening and sharing our stuff on whatever platform you use. Ratings help us, boost us in the algorithm. Sharing the pod to your friends, your neighbors, your loved ones, the Muslim emirs over the border who have neglected to pay you your tribute. Anybody like that is a good candidate for the LU listener squad. And did I hit it all?
Yeah, I think that's just about everything.
Cool. All right, well, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it, and we will see you next time on another exciting edition of Left Unread.
Bosh.
Fuck that guy, dude.
I know. We're a Big John the Bosch Father fans here.
Yeah. Bosh. Yeah. Bosh. But the other guy is a fucking...
He's a knob.
Yeah, dude. All right, bye, everybody.
Tem o direito de continuar a escrever se não tem nada para dizer.
Hoje em dia são como a pornografia, nem todos dão usa porque há uma oferta em demasia, ofensa à filosofia da nossa imensa minoria. Um puto plagia, fotocopia, pirataria e unir à varia a quem tira a magia original. Aí eu reflete e repete, comigo eu agi mal. Só tu sabes o que usaste e quando o poço tiver gasto o topo vai caindo e não és bem-vindo como um padrasto. É aí que eu me faz, volto para baixo, com paraquedas, não te curto como um paiador não curto moedas. Boy, eu não preciso de regressos com sucessos, eu faço poesia, a maioria faz versos. Esquece os outros, mete os pontos nos is, mete os contos no lixo, só são os bons no disco. Ouvis? Consistência, integridade, longevidade na essência, tens de ter paciência. Eu pus-me na bicha, preenchi a ficha, ganhei uma t-shirt quando ouvi chamaram bicha, chamada artista. À primeira vista era fixe ter a profissão, sou vocalista, dou-te a lista dos que pensam que são. É relativo todo o título, toda a afirmação, sou criativo e digo-lo com toda a estimação. Dicção é importante, mas a tua é ficção, como DJs que eu vejo nos pratos, mano, micção, sem convicção. Sinto-me à frente, gente tem como influência uma só referência, uma só canção. São imitação da escrita que limita a direção. Solicitação evitam, necessitam correção.
Dizem que cantam hip-hop, mas não dizem nada. Vêm com poesia, mas é só fechado. O português não está cansado, eles vêm com o inglês. Eu pratico, praticando a nossa língua outra vez. Seja hip-hop, seja rock, são poetas de karaoke. Dá um stop, não faz flop aos poetas de karaoke. No teu bloco, no teu stock, é poetas de karaoke. Poetas de karaoke, são poetas de karaoke.
Põe a gramática em prática, didática ou dramaticamente, citando técnicas poéticas com estéticas fonéticas, sempre tentam surpreendente, com métricas à frente para mentes céticas e exigentes. Isto é para todos, não é só para MCs. Isto é para tugas que nunca escrevem na língua raiz. Querem ser internacionais, mas estão cá no país e nunca são originais, de Nova Iorque ou Paris. Eu sempre fui Dom Dinis, vocês são de onde é mais jeito. Onde houver mais fama e proveito, e se houver mais grana é aceito. E se houver uma dama com bom peito, pensam que isso dá respeito. Confere e confirma a afirmação, vocês não acordam que eu condeno a vossa causa falsa que vocês abordam. Contratos são assinados com condições que não concordam e as gravatas ficam gratas pelos escravos que assim engordam. Não há credibilidade na performance, o microfone não está ligado, isso para mim é nonsense. Não percebo o vosso ponto, no meu som eu ponho senso, porque eu escrevo como falo, como sonho e como penso.
Dizem que cantam hip hop, mas não dizem nada. Vêm com poesia, mas é só fachado. O português não está cansado, eles vêm com o inglês. Eu pratico, praticando a nossa língua outra vez. Seja hip hop, seja rock, são poetas de karaoke. Dá um stop, não faz flop para os poetas de karaoke. No teu bloco, o teu sock é de poetas de karaoke. Poetas de karaoke, são poetas de karaoke. Dizem que cantam hip hop, mas não dizem nada. Vêm com poesia, mas é só fachado. O português não está cansado, eles vêm com o inglês. Eu pratico, praticando a nossa língua outra vez. Seja hip hop, seja rock, são poetas de karaoke. Dá um stop, não faz flop para os poetas de karaoke. No teu bloco, o teu stock é de poetas de karaoke. Poetas de karaoke, são poetas de karaoke.
Eu fiz aquele som
ridículo, pá.
Que nojo, pá, que... Epá, eu passo-me com aqueles gajos.
Epá, estes gajos são daqui.
É sempre a mesma coisa, pá, E depois vêm com aquelas letras epá, não percebo nada, pá.
Nunca gostei de rap, pá.
De certeza que não foram à escola, de certeza,
não, não sabem escalas, não sabem escalas.
Não sabem nada e depois vêm é música, é you know, you sing, you
E só o nome dele é contraditório.
Pode, sendo daqui, do que é aquilo, pá.
Aquilo é inglês, é americano, e quem é para me criticar? Não é ninguém, pá.
Oh, pá. Devia ser ouvir música,
Eles a escrever sabem, pá.
O A, I, O, U, não?
É, eles de quarta classe. Eu te faço o que te acontece o te. Que eles não percebem nada disso, eles não sabem escrever.
Pessoal. É assim, vocês estão aí a falar à toa, mas...